Good evening, YouTube. Do you love old cars? Do you love music? Do you love the freedom to play the music your heart desires when your heart desires it? Oh, she's tight. Oh. You could use a setup like the one I've got here in the 61 Chrysler. Got music from my iPhone converted to an FM signal using a transmitter, which is received by this aftermarket FM receiver, which converts it to an AM signal, which is received by this 63-year-old AM-only radio, and then played through two rotted-out 6x9 speakers. I'm playing the song of my generation right now on a monetized video, and if the record company wants to claim copyright on me, they can eat a dick, because there ain't no way the YouTube copyright AI is going to hear this audio after 3 consecutive stages of signal conversion and degradation. Unfortunately, it also means that I can't hear it either. In addition to these new speakers, I'm going to add an aux input and Bluetooth to this factory radio without removing any of its original functionality or classy style. All for peanuts. Start by removing your radio. How exactly you do that is on you, brother. On this old New Yorker, you just start yoinking chrome bits off of it. And then get a 5/8 socket for the nuts, or 16mm if you're one of them Nancy Boy foreigners. Apparently classic American land yachts are quite popular in Scandinavia. We traded them cars for ABBA and affordable furniture. Get comfortable and stick your head under your all-steel dashboard to disconnect all the wires going to your radio. This single 3/8 nut is the only thing grounding this old radio, or holding it in. And of course, this old FM converter comes out, so we have more room to extricate the radio. Rest in peace, old friend. I strongly recommend disconnecting the battery for this part. Not sure if it's an old car thing, or more specifically a Mopar thing, but half this car's circuits aren't fused, and there's a lot of exposed terminals under here. One wrong move, and you're going to need yourself a fire extinguisher, multimeter, and a 40. On a related note, if anyone has a lead on a 61 Chrysler reverse light switch, mine is fused on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving toward the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote.
If you can find a schematic for your old unit, bless your heart. But with a few sober brain cells, you can figure it out, commando style. With the radio opened up, find your volume knob. These volume knobs are just potentiometers, or variable resistors. As you can see here, there's 3 legs. One of the 2 outer pins should go to ground. And there's no technical reason to use a 60s Soviet multimeter to check a 60s Chrysler radio, but got a bit of an Apollo Soyuz vibe going on here. Yeah, I'm a hipster. Sue me. There it is. The middle leg is your wiper, and you can see from this wiper to one side of the pot, resistance should go up as volume goes up, just like that. And from the wiper to the other side of the pot, resistance goes down as volume goes up. That's how you know which one is the common or the wiper. Through process of elimination, the remaining pin goes to your incoming radio signal. Cut this one. This is now going to be an aux input instead. If you have the same radio as me, here's a cheat sheet. All these old radios are different, but the concept is pretty gosh darn universal. For some stupid reason, I want to keep the AM functionality of this radio. I don't plan to ever use it again, but I want to know I could if I wanted to. Same reason I won't get the vasectomy. To preserve your AM functionality, you just need a cheap-as-chips single-pole double-throw switch. The common will go to the leg of the potentiometer you just liberated going into the amp, and the other two will go to the OG radio signal input and your new aux input, respectively. Here's a schematic of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times.
Just a splash of plum crazy purple here. Bonus points for using shielded wire for this. I don't have any.
7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against the single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors.
Now, with a simple flip of the switch, we can travel back to the future and back again. You can buy these aux jacks online. You used to be able to buy them in stores at your local Radio Shack. Kids today will never know the pleasure of riding your bike into town alone during summer break to buy electronic components alone. I didn't have a lot of friends. So anyway, you're going to get one of these online, pay for shipping, wait 3 days, and solder your 3 wires, left, right, and ground. If you're having trouble identifying the pins, just get an aux cable and a meter. The tip is your left, the middle ring is your right, and this base sleeve is your ground. Since these radios were designed before 1965, when Sonny and Cher invented stereo, we need to convert the incoming stereo signal to mono. That's easy too. You can, hypothetically, just tie your left and right channels together, but best case scenario, that creates a lot of cross-channel bleed-through and distortion. Worst case scenario, it overloads the audio driver on your source device. So before you join them together, add a resistor to both channels. I've used 200 ohms, I've used 1K ohms, and never really noticed a difference. Just make sure to use the same resistor values on both channels. Now it's time to install the toggle switch and the jack. I've marked my holes, and I'm going to use a center punch to make sure I'm drilling accurately. Measure once, drill twice. Confucius say. I crimped on a little lug, and I'm grounding it to the chassis of the radio. Switch and jack are hidden above the ashtray. I could totally neaten up this wiring, but you've all witnessed the limitations of my attention span for these projects before. You can buy little mini Bluetooth receivers that fit inside the radio enclosure, but then if they ever crap out on you, you're kind of screwed. So that's why I opted to go with the aux jack and an external Bluetooth receiver. It's Brittany, bitch. I hope she's doing okay. Thanks for watching.